What's up everyone? April here. In this video, we're going to be talking about how you can manage prompts inside of your organization. Prompts are a vital part of using any AI tool, whether it be Power Platform tools like Power Apps Copilot, Power Automate Copilot, or non-Power Platform tools even like Midjourney, Dall-E, Azure OpenAI, ChatGPT, whatever it might be. As you're using any of these AI tools, you're collecting prompts that help you solve certain needs. So wouldn't it be great if you could have a collection of all of those prompts that anyone in your organization can use and easily find and browse, and even curate a collection of your favorite prompts that you can use? Well, I have a solution for that. And this solution is actually built using Power Apps Copilot with a few customizations on my end. So I'll walk you through how you can build something similar yourself from scratch, but I've also included this as a template on our Power Platform samples repo, so you can just download it and start using it. So first, let's take a look at what this solution does, and then we'll break apart the bits and pieces of how it's working behind the scenes. Now, as I mentioned, I've made this available on our GitHub repo for Power Platform samples. So if you want to use the solution as is, you simply download the solution file from this repo. So this is what the solution will look like from an end user perspective. As I mentioned, I built this using Power Apps Copilot, so behind the scenes, it is using Dataverse to store all of our data. And that does mean this does require a premium license, but you can take the concept from this and use an alternative data source like SharePoint or even Excel if you must for something like this. But if you want it to be truly scalable and be able to hold a ton of data and have certain security rules and things like that, you're going to want to stick with Dataverse. But what we see here is a fully responsive application. And it does a few different things for us. The first is it allows us to tag our prompts with different categories. So as you're working with these prompts, they'll probably fall into different categories. Now here, I've kind of organized them in different departmental almost categories here, like IT related prompts. So doing things like troubleshooting, different help desk activities and things like that. And sales related prompts, maybe it's for creating copy to post. But these categories are customizable in the solution. So this is the Canvas app front end from a user, but there's a back end which I'll show you where we can customize these options that are showing for categories. Now the other thing that allows you to do is if we click on this tab here is to categorize your prompts by product. So this would be whether this is a prompt to use in Power Apps Copilot, Azure OpenAI, Midjourney, whatever AI tool you're using that needs a prompt that you would use that in. So we can filter the results here based off of a product and a category. So if I want to see just Power Automate Copilot prompts, I can select that option, and you see that I can tell that I have that filtered on that option. And we have one prompt here for Power Automate Copilot, and on the right-hand side, on the far right, I see the details of that prompt. So this is the prompt itself, the tags, and then any relative notes. So if I want to pass along notes as I'm adding prompts to this repository, like if there's any gotchas or any follow-ups needed to make that prompt work, then I can put that in the notes section here. And if I want to remove the filter, I just click this X button, and then it shows me all the results again. Now, a really cool thing that I built into this is ultimately when you're using this, you probably will browse and find a few favorite prompts that you might use over and over again. So what I did, if we click on this prompt here for a prompt generator, we can select that, and you'll see this button here. This is our bookmark button. So if I select this, that will actually add this prompt to my favorites. So it's going to get the context of me, the current logged in user, and there's another table in the back end in Dataverse that stores any prompt that I marked as a favorite. And what we can do in the upper right hand corner, you see we have this My Profile section. So if I click on that, that takes me to a different screen with all of the prompts that I've either authored, as we see here, or the ones that I've favorited. So there is a prompt generator prompt, and I can see that easily from the My Profile screen. And another thing that I included to make it super easy to use these prompts is this built-in copy button. So this one right here will copy the prompt to your clipboard. So you don't have to worry about selecting all that, doing Control-C. It's an easy one-click button where I select that, copy it, go into the tool of choice that I want to use this in. This one is a Power Automate Copilot prompt, so I'll just paste that in there. And there you go, it's ready to use. And if we go back to the home screen, it's really easy to add new prompts. We just select this new prompt button, and then this changes to a new form so I can put in details about my prompt, the prompt itself, tag it with the category and with the product, and put in any notes. And of course, here on the left-hand side, there is built-in searching as well, so you don't have to use just the filters. If you want to search for anything related to Power FX, for example, it's going to filter that, and the filter shows here as well, so you can remove that easily. And I mentioned this app is responsive, so if I were to scale this down and make it more of a phone type view, you see eventually, as I get there, there you go. Now we have the nice view where we just scroll down and we see all of this information. So this is the front end of the solution. There is also a back end with a model-driven app. So I have a prompt manager administration model-driven app here, and if we play that, this just gives you an easy way to manage the system as a whole. So we can see all of the prompts in the database here. So each one of these are different Dataverse tables in this case. So if I need to make any mass changes at all, mass deletions, whatever it might be, I can do that here. I can manage the products that show up in that dropdown. So that's serving as a lookup field. It's its own Dataverse table. So we can change and add and edit all of those. Same thing for the prompt categories and even the favorites. So if you need an administrative view to manage favorites, if someone leaves the company and you want to clear up their favorites, whatever it might be, that's baked into this model-driven administration app as well. So now that we have kind of a good idea of what the app does, let me show you a little bit about what I did to build this application. I actually built this using Power Apps Copilot. Now, of course, I made a lot of additional customizations to this, but I did use this as my starting point. I find it less often these days that I'm opening up a blank Canvas app from scratch and doing that. I'm usually using Copilot as a starting point and tweaking it from there. So the text that I put in here was, I want an app called Prompt Manager. It should have a single line of text field called title, a multi-line of text field called prompt. And I kept it really simple to start with, like that. So now we'll click next. And it created just a basic Dataverse table for me. So the thing with Copilot is I can keep tweaking it with Copilot and have it add additional columns if I want. But as of the time of this video, this could change as fast as this is evolving. We can only build a single Dataverse table with Copilot, and it doesn't support doing things like lookup fields. So if we recall in the app that I was showing you, we had relationships built in with these categories and products fields. So those were different tables, as well as the favorites. So all of that I built out manually because Copilot doesn't support it now. But the main reason that I went this route is to get me the design that I wanted right off the bat. So I stuck with what it built me here. So if we click Create App, I'll kind of show you what it gives you and guide you a little bit through some of the tweaks I made to make it look like it does. So this is actually a really good model to follow when you're building new applications, is to kind of use Copilot and tweak the app that it builds you to add in some additional functionality. So you'll see it looks pretty similar to what I had, what we get here. We have this very similar look and feel on the left-hand side. We have a gallery in the search box in the new, and then on the right-hand side is our form to add a new item. Now, the big reason that I wanted to use Copilot is because when we do that, it does create an accessible and a responsive app out of the box for us. So if we look, it's leveraging containers, which are how we do responsive design in Power Apps. So I already have this kind of basic layout of how I want it to interact, and I can just add in my additional Dataverse tables. I can build those out, and I can add in some additional things inside these containers, and it's a lot less legwork than starting completely from scratch. So let me open our Prompt Manager Canvas app that I was demoing in edit mode so we can look at some of the differences in the tweaks that I made. So I have the two apps here side by side so you can see some of the key differences and similarities. I did a few stylistic things here, like the Copilot creates this top header here with a blue background. So I went in and customized that and changed it to a white background. But you'll see that I kept a lot of the container structure. I just simply added to it. The main differences, though, are in the body container. I kept this sidebar content, but I added an additional container for results because I wanted essentially two galleries that were going to filter each other. So when you add in these containers, they just stack side by side. And I really kept the main container as is. I just added some additional icons. So if you look at the main container right now, it just has this edit and delete icon. and I added all of these additional icons, which I just used from the stock icons that are available in Power Apps. So if we look at the icons here, there's one for a bookmark, which has both a non-selected and selected option, a filled option, which is why I chose that one. And there's one for copy as well. Now, other things that you'll notice that I did is we have this tabbed effect in my application. And this tabbed effect was easy to add thanks to the new modern controls that are available inside of Power Apps. So this is something that you may or may not have to enable in your app. So let me show you how to do that really quickly. You'll go into your settings, go to upcoming features, and just do a search for modern. And you'll see this modern controls and themes option. It may or may not be automatically enabled for you. It should be automatically enabled since it is in preview, but if not, you'll just want to toggle that to on. And once you do, now when you go into your insert menu, you'll see a new tab for modern. And these are some new refreshed, updated controls that we can use. One of them, being my favorite, is the tab list. So it gives us an easy way to add in a tab effect in our apps. So I've added that control into my app here, and then all we do is customize the items property. And in my case, I just hard-coded the two different items I wanted. I wanted an option for categories and an option for products. And then it was just a matter of adding in a little Power FX magic to tell which option I have selected, and then change which gallery shows. Because if you'll notice, I actually have two different galleries here. I have one that holds my products and one that holds my categories. So all I did, if we go into this category gallery and we go to the visible property, is I just set this to tablist.selected.value equals categories. You'll notice I didn't have to put an if in here or anything because this will automatically evaluate to a true or false value, which is what we need to pass into the visibility property. So if that's true and a category is selected, this will show. And we did the same thing to the product gallery visible property, except if it equals products. And my app also had something different, which was a completely different screen for managing your profile. And to do that, I simply duplicated this screen that Copilot generated for me, like going on the three dots next to it and saying duplicate screen. And I just made a few little tweaks. And then really the only other major things that you'll see is I incorporated some external icons. So that's always something that I like to do if I want to add a little more oomph to my applications. I extend what's available out of the box in the icons, and I download some custom icons and use those, which is what I did here and in this gallery here. So that's pretty much it. And one of the things that I do love about this is the fact that it is pretty much responsive out of the box. If you're leveraging containers as you add in some of this additional capability, it's pretty easy to stick with that responsive capability. And if we look at our app checker, it's accessible out of the box as well. I didn't have any accessibility issues that I had to deal with. I didn't have any accessibility errors, which is always great. Now, one of the key things that I did to extend this was to add those additional Dataverse tables. Now, let me show you a quick thing if you're not super familiar with Dataverse on how you can add those tables with Copilot as well. So this is relatively new. If we go to the Tables tab on make.powerapps.com, you should see these new options to describe a new table with Copilot. So we can use that same Copilot experience to build out our related tables. So I simply interact with my Copilot here and tell it what I want to have in this table. So maybe start with the name of the table. I want to call this table categories 2, just because I already have a categories. And it populates the table for me. And it's recommending some columns that I might want in this. And some of these I don't need. This table actually is really simple. I kept it as just one text column to store the category. And then I did add a number column for order so that I can dynamically change the order of how the items show. So I can do a little tweaking with this Copilot control to customize this. I can say remove the description, type, and status fields because I don't need those. And then I can say add a number field called order. All right, there we have it. Now, just by describing what I want and working with the Copilot, I have my relationship table here ready to use as soon as I click create. And I did that process for creating all of those different relationship tables for the categories, the products, and favorites. And we can take a peek at the tables that I have just in case you're curious what columns are in there if you're wanting to recreate this in a different data source. The main one is our prompt libraries table. So if we go edit the data, the key columns that matter beyond the out-of-the-box ones are the name, which is a single line of text, prompt, which is multi-line of text, category, of course, which is a lookup to that category table. And this was added on after the fact to my table manually after Copilot created it for me. The multi-line of text notes field. For the products and categories, those are very simple. So if we look at those, it is literally just the product column, which is a single line of text, and the order column, which is a number. This is the exact same for the categories table as well. And then finally for the favorites, if we look at that, so the core columns we need for this one is the user column, which is a single line of text that stores the user name of the person that marked this as a favorite. We also have a user email, so we can make sure it's distinct, which is a single line of text. And then the prompt, which is a lookup to the prompt that was saved, so we can get all the details about that. And those are all the columns that really matter in this particular table. So hopefully that was a pretty good overview of the solution as a whole and some of the key points that I did to make this happen. I might break this down even further in future videos and dive into some specific things that I did to make this happen stylistically wise and things. But as I mentioned though, this is actually available on the Power Platform samples repo. So let me briefly show you how you can access that and install it in your environment if you want to go that route. So if you go to aka.ms/prompt manager, and I'll put a link to that in the video description so you don't have to remember that, that'll take you here directly to the sample solution on the repo. You'll see all the instructions, some screenshots of what the app does, and all their requirements, but all you have to do to use it is navigate here to the solution folder, select this zip file, which is a managed solution that contains the Canvas app, the model-driven app, and the Dataverse tables that you'll need. And select this download button here on GitHub. So that will download the solution for you on your hard drive. And then at that point, you just need access to an environment with Dataverse capacity that you have privileges to upload solutions to, or hand off the solution to your IT team and have them do it for you. I'll walk you through the import process here. So I'm in a different environment, so we would simply go to the Solutions tab. And if you don't see solutions on this left-hand menu, this was updated recently where you can kind of customize the values that show. So you might need to go to more, and then you'll find solutions in there and you can actually pin it so that it shows up. But once you're there, just go to Import Solution and browse and point to that zip file that you just uploaded. So you'll go to Open. Next, it'll do some checks to make sure that everything is okay. In my case, I've actually already installed this, so I won't go through the whole process, but you would just click next and give it around 5 minutes or so, and it will add this solution into your environment. And when it does, you should be automatically routed to the solution itself. So the solution is called Prompt Manager, and you should see a view like this that shows you all of the items included in that solution. So there are all of the tables that we just looked at. It also includes some optional security rules that you can configure, one for if someone's an administrator and one if someone's just a basic user. And then here's our Canvas application, and there's our model-driven app. Now when you install this app, it doesn't include any data. So what you'll see when you open this Canvas app is kind of a blank screen. So you're not going to see much or get much value until you start adding prompts in there. So in the categories and products tabs, there's just an option for all, which is built into the app. But to get it set up, you'll want to go into your Prompt Manager Administration app first. So you'll play that. And then you can configure your products and categories so that as users are starting to add prompts, they'll have the ability to tag them. So again, these can be whatever you want. So if we go over to products, we can do this directly from our model-driven app. We can select new. And we can put in anything that we want here, depending on the services that we're using, like say maybe Midjourney. I can add that as an option. And then same thing for categories. So maybe my categories might just be, this is for personal use, and then maybe another one to classify it as a business use prompt. So whatever works best for your organization, just fill those out accordingly. And once you do, if you go back into your Canvas application, those will populate here in your categories tab. So there's personal business, and there's my products with Midjourney. And now when a user creates a new prompt, they're able to select those and choose the classification for category and product. So I'll put in something here. I'll say this is just a test prompt. I'll say put in this super awesome prompt. Click the OK. And there's our first prompt in our brand new prompt library. It's as simple as that. So hopefully this is something that you'll find helpful even for personal use if you're just trying to organize all the different prompts that you're using, and of course business use as well if you're rolling out different AI tools in your organization and want to help people curate a list of prompts and share the prompts that are working for them across all the AI tools you're using. Again, I will provide a link to download the solution as is in the video description. And if you use the app, I would love to hear what you think about it and if you have any suggestions for improvements. So drop me a message in the comments and let me know. And that is all that I have for you today in this video. If you found it helpful, please support the channel by clicking that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Before you go, check out some of these other templates I've created in this playlist on all of the AI features that Power Platform has.